meeting from our recess. Back in 1:05 now.
So what we were talking about before we recessed was House Bill 325. And I'm just wondering if this commission wants to go ahead and answer the call to action on this. And the request is that this county commission stands with MACO's policy statement in opposition to House Bill 325. And from our perspective, would number one be the public health issue, because there have been deaths due to this, but also the money issue, the money it would cost our public health department to research and track down a issue would be astronomical and fall on our citizens to fund.
Yeah, you're talking about the raw milk?
Yes, that's House Bill 325. Anything like that, Franklin, they have to actually backtrack every person who got sick and backtrack all the way to the source. And it can be months of work and it can be a lot of money. And then the other side of that is people have died from this. So it doesn't hinder those who already have raw milk because they have, the milk cows. But it is more geared for those who have not grown up with that ability to drink raw milk, those who've not grown up that way. So my question is, what does the commission want to do? And this came as a request this morning from both Julie Lethert, the sanitarian, and Teresa Munson, the public health nurse.
Since the kids have grown up, I sold my milk cow, so
I would make the motion to stand with MACO's policy on House Bill 325.
I will second that motion.
it moved in second to go with Mako on opposition of House Bill 325 or whatever it is. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
All right, I'll go ahead and send out a letter. If it's good with you guys, I'll just take this language
Yeah.
and send it out, sign the commissioners to the different committee members. If that's good with you guys?
For me.
Okay, thank you. I'll do it this afternoon.
Okay, Corey,
Ready?
yep.
Oh, I should give you that for the rec dinner. There you go. Excuse me.
You got your new clerk today?
Yeah, she came in yesterday for Friday for transition, transition work, and then today is her first full day, so. Yep, going well.
Transition went okay between her and Wendy and everything.
Well. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know at 1:30 we have a union meeting, is that right?
Right,
Right here?
yeah.
Okay, I was gone for the last one, so as I understood it, it was they were coming back to provide response. Is that
Right,
the footing we're on? Okay,
Mhm.
alright. Met with Doc Campbell and his lawyer on the issue of the modular building. And the first question, of course, is, does the county want to accept the modular building from the hospital? We looked at it a little bit. I'm gonna arrange for Mike Myers to go over and talk to Mike, and he's willing to do it, and Doc Campbell's fine with us going over and looking at the building in terms of if there's, certain level of anticipated cost if the county owns a building. One of the things that we discussed is, or they're interested in, is if the county takes the building, what's our purpose, what's our intention with the building and with his medical practice there. So I guess there's two ways to do this. One is, well, it's three ways. One is the county may just say, we don't wanna deal with the building, and so whatever the hospital does, either makes a deal with him and he owns it, or something else, and then, or if he ends up owning it and the county says, we want to use the land for something else, so move it to somewhere else. Another option that we discussed was if the county were to own the building and then continue to lease it to him until he's retired from his practice. He'd be interested in doing that. And it suggested that if we were interested in that, a couple of things. One is that he is the county health officer currently, and maybe a lease arrangement where he does that for free rather than he gets a yearly stipend. He does that for free for the county, and then in exchange gets the lease of that building until he's done with his medical practice. He obviously didn't give me a date on that, but my guess is that we're talking 5 years, like a 5-year deal. In fact, a 5-year term on the lease agreement was a suggestion. And then, of course, my suggestion would be that he pays the utilities. He is now paying the utilities. And then there's a lot of times what we do in a lease agreement is if it's normal day-to-day maintenance, then the tenant takes care of that, whether that's window screens or light bulbs or whatever, just things that anybody would do. And then if it's into something major, I don't know, a roof or walls or something like that the county would do it. So those were kind of ideas that we discussed. So I told him I didn't know what you guys wanted to do. I'd come back and present that as an option, or if you have other options in mind, and then we would I'd get back to him, and then also in terms of having Mike do an inspection of the building.
And he was agreeable on that option there then?
He would be agreeable to that option, yeah. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I would like a full analysis of the building, obviously, if we're gonna even consider taking it, I wanna know what we're getting. I think that's fiscally responsible. But my other question would be, just share the law with me if you would. Since Doc Campbell is a private business owner, what are the legal reasons that we could go ahead and take ownership and work out that kind of a deal? Wouldn't we have to go out to bid, cause it'd be over, I would assume, be valued at over $80,000?
Well, first of all, he doesn't own the building. The first question is, does the county want to in some way acquire the ownership of the building from the hospital? So that would have to be the first question. Then in terms of, are you talking about this lease agreement kind of deal?
Right, if we went to that option, if we got the analysis back and the county decided, yes, we wanna go ahead and take ownership of this building, wouldn't we have to go out for bid in order to lease to a private business, since the building would no doubt be worth more than $80,000, which is the threshold?
Well, it wouldn't be the value of the building, it'd be the value of the agreement, the lease agreement.
Okay,
So, I'm not sure, I thought the county pays him, is it like $10,000 a year for that health officer job?
5.
5 a year? Okay, so that's a $25,000 value to that lot lease. 5 years, $5,000 each. I don't know that the bidding thing would apply in the same, I'll have to look at that. If we acquire a building and there's already a tenant there, then there's probably some, I can look into that as far as what those requirements are.
I would just be curious, and certainly would wanna know that before moving ahead.
And I think so then, obviously, we wouldn't have to do it right now, but at some point the county's gonna figure out what is the long-term plan of what you wanna do with that building. And I think the maintenance inspection will be key to that, as well as if he stays there 5 years and then he retires, then you've got, a building that you could, if it's in good shape, you could use it for office space. If it's in bad shape, then you might have to move it out.
And There is a group of citizens who would like to actually do something different with that space too.
The space, of that real terrain?
Right,
Okay.
right. Just in general, they wanna take one of, or several of our historic schools and put them here on Main Street as a kind of a historic display of our history.
Where are they now? Are they like
Scattered
throughout
around
the
the
county?
county and in dire need of some TLC. And when you look at what a private group of citizens did with the church, the Canton Church, it's, you know, they could do quite a bit to preserve some of those old schools.
So what's your feedback on that? Should I pursue exploring that option and get an inspection of the building and possibly at least discussion with him?
That's what I would say.
Back to, I guess, the question, we made a decision on whether to acquire the building from the hospital?
I'm not comfortable making that decision until we have an analysis of what it would be that we'd be taking ownership of.
Okay, that makes sense.
What are our options? I mean, if we don't take ownership of it, what happens? It's abandoned property.
Well, then you could tell the hospital that, so since it's on our property, even if they sold it to somebody else, we'd probably have to approve the sale. Or sell it to somebody else and then they have a certain amount of time to move out. I think what's complicated this, and what appears to be, I've done some research on it, the reason why it made sense, I think, for the hospital to give it to the county is that there was a lawsuit back in the day between Doc Campbell and the hospital. And part of that settlement was, I don't think it wasn't termed as a life estate, but it was similar to that. It was continue to use that building for your practice so long as you are practicing medicine. But I think it was practicing medicine and access to the hospital, providing health care to the hospital. And so, digging into exactly what that would mean, that arrangement in terms of if that can be terminated and he can be moved out, that'd be between those two parties, not between the county and those two. So bottom line is, I think the simplest thing for the hospital was to give to the county or sell it for $1 or whatever it is would be the arrangement. So then they haven't incurred some kind of a liability or problem with if they want to use it for something else. So haven't violated any kind of a old agreement with Doc Campbell, basically.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and pursue those avenues that you were going to, and then we can start going from there.
Okay.
How old is that building?
Moved in there, I
82 or
believe, in
something?
81, I think.
About the time they built the hospital.
It was supposed to be there no longer than 5 years.
When did they plan on starting the 5-year countdown?
I have no idea.
Back
And I
in-
think I have looked up minutes and given copies of that information to multiple people. I
Yeah.
have some upstairs if need be.
It is interesting reading,
Mhm.
but it really does look like a good path was set and then it just went off the cliff.
Mhm.
I think this is some of that stuff here. I think this is some of that stuff that, yeah, right here. Yep, there was a 3-year lease in 1981 for the purpose of temporarily locating a clinic building. The agreement expired in 1984 and has never been renewed.
I think they renewed it for 1 year maybe. I can't remember now. And then it just kind of disappeared.
There you go. All right. A law enforcement agreement is nearly done. We had a meeting last week, and I believe we are looking at a joint work session on May 8th with the city council and the county commission to review and adopt the agreement. So there's a couple of edits I need to make, and then I'll send it out to everybody. The resolution on the regular meeting dates, did the commission adopt that, or does it need to have any more changes? Or the dates and the notifications?
It needs to be advertised for 2 weeks,
Okay.
so it's being advertised, and I think it's on the agenda for next week.
Okay. Just checking on the district boundaries issue, is that something that, is Nicole working on
Nicole's working
fixing
on it.
boundary issues? Okay. So, if I need to get involved, I'll hear from her, is that?
Probably, yeah.
And then the conservation district, are you a member, are you on that, or do you attend those? Is that-
10 those, yeah.
So we got meetings tonight, we're getting into a civil issue that's gonna be, well, I'm not sure. It could be just one case, or it could be a lifetime, but dealing with some mining activity up on Town Gulch, so that there's a dispute between the owner and the conservation district over if there's jurisdiction and various things, and so they've just asked for a hearing on the issue of whether the conservation district has jurisdiction over it. And for a conservation district dealing with a stream bed to have ownership over it, is it a water of the state, meaning is it trying to think of the term, it's not just an intermittent stream, but a stream that's a kind of an existing and continual watershed. So that's the issue that we'll have a meeting tonight, and then we're gonna start on a schedule for that hearing. It'll be a couple months is my guess. And that could go from just there, or it could end up going to the district court after that, so.
Did him and the Forest Service ever get squared around? That's still ongoing.
Apparently that access with the Forest Service is somehow contingent on this, or somehow related to this. And so he's got an attorney, we've talked about that issue and trying to get together to resolve it, but somehow it is related to this. And then, I have what's the date? Today's April, okay, so I would think, I'm just gonna give you a heads up that probably the second week of May, we may wanna look at a special meeting of on either the Monday or the Wednesday, possibly preferably the Wednesday, so maybe May 11th, with myself and some folks from the Forest Service, the local ranger district, to come do a presentation for you on just some forest road research issues that we found that will affect, I think may affect the county, so I guess I just request that now. And then I've spent some meetings with them up in Helena, and I've got some research I need to do to have my act together on that. And then probably around, my guess is May 11th we'll be far enough down the road to come meet with you guys. And those are the current deals. We did, I don't even know what it's about yet, but prior to court last week, we got served with a civil lawsuit Broadwater County has about 30 defendants. Appears to be a property issue, and I think we're just a pro forma defendant. I'm gonna look at it this week and find out what actually it's about. And then I'll send an email probably to you with an update on it, and then as soon as I know what it is, I'll get a copy to Makos so they're aware of it. But just based on all I've looked at is the cover page and all the defendants, and it looks to me like we got thrown in with a whole bunch of property owners dealing with some property boundary issues. And then I was going right into court, so that's as far as I've gotten on it. Those are my issues that I'm currently doing on civil issues for the commission. The road one is gonna be the big one that I've been working on for about a month now, but it's gonna be the one that we'll spend a lot of time on.
Probably drag on quite a little while then.
May not, I think it'll take a lot of our time and attention for a little while, maybe a month or so. I do have to be gone Wednesday for a National Guard meeting in Butte. I'm gonna submit a memo to you, but I won't be at the actual budget meeting on Wednesday. So I'll submit a memo to you, and then it's gonna be simple, but fairly simple, so.
Wednesday, what's the date?
Well, this Wednesday,
The 12th?
yeah, we're on it. I believe it's all morning, isn't it? Yeah, 10 a.m. and I think it's general fund, and you have a bunch of folks,
Yeah.
is that right?
Mhm.
Yep, yeah. I'll be out of town all day Wednesday. We have a jury trial, a justice court jury trial Thursday, if anyone wants to watch that.
It'd be interesting or not?
It'll be all right. We'll get it done in a day.
This is Thursday, you said?
Thursday, yeah, 13th. And then we have our last. I only have one criminal case left from before I was county attorney. We have 2 trials with the guy. They're back to back. Last week of April, first week of May, and the reason it's so old is because he was missing for a while and other states and changed lawyers and done about everything he can to stretch it out. So we're finally there.
Come to a head.
Finally there. So we'll either settle really fast in the next.
You're sure we'll be
days or-
continued again, or?
Oh, no, he can't, no.
You can't now.
He can't, it's just too, it's literally, and when the case was filed, it was a year old from the crime, just under a year old. So the crime that we're trials about happened in 2013, so that's getting pretty old. We're gonna be stretching some memories on that one. So it's 1:30. Aaron is hiding in the back there. So if you don't have anything else for me, I'll get out of the way so we can start our next meeting.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay. In fact, I'm gonna run up and grab a water bottle and I'll be right back.
Okay. Just take a-
And
Hi.
since we should not have 3 commissioners or 2 at the table during negotiations, I'm gonna go ahead and leave. And,
Are you going to adjourn the meeting, Commissioner?
We're just gonna recess for, I
Right.
don't know, 10 minutes. 10 minutes gonna be long enough.
Franklin, I would
2
request that we adjourn, since union negotiations are not necessarily part of the commission meeting, especially since there shall be 1 commissioner here. And it is noticed, but it shouldn't be actually noticed as part of the commission meeting, unless we're going to be finalizing today.
No, we can do that. We'll adjourn then at 1:30. And then we'll be back in 10
just
minutes for,
Well, all I need is about 2 minutes. So if you want to take longer, you can, whatever works for you. I'll just be right back.
Do you want the camera?
recess for
Could you just turn it off and then on?
5 minutes, I guess.
Can I move the table up? Or something?
Yes.